Okay, so for the next part of today's session, we're going to be talking to John Hawkins around, web methods and hybrid integration. So this is one of IBM's acquisitions in 2025. It's something that Coliance have been looking at afar for some years, but obviously with the acquisition of from IBM and us being an IBM Gold partner, we thought we'd get in there and start getting under the covers and understanding how web methods can potentially be beneficial to some of our customers, where it might be beneficial in the long term or short term for others. And yeah, obviously, lots of customers have already invested in lots of different technologies. So that's why the conversation around hybrid integration I thought would be relevant today. So, John, what is hybrid integration? Why does it matter?
Okay. I guess so. Why it matters is probably the key thing. So IBM has bought out yet another company who does a full software stack. They've done it in the past with varying levels of the stack. By the stack, I mean API management, security gateways, ESBs, messaging, B2B functionality, right? This is stuff they've already got. Let's be very clear here, right? They've already got it in various little components in different products. But it's that hybrid element that they've never really managed to get. They've never really had one toolkit that you can go to and say, this is my IBM integration toolkit, right? They've had lots of separate products. So what they're attempting to do, and what they're doing a good job of, is they bought this one stack, which is the web methods stack, and they're saying, right, the best bits of web methods are over here. The best bits of what we've got in ACE, API management, API Connect, are over here. The best bits of B2B are over here in the IBM world. Let's join them together, right? So that's an element of the hybridness, all right? Because they're basically saying, look, we can't deny we've got this big legacy of awesome products, right? And we brought out this really good new stack, but we have to combine the two together. So there's a lot of hybridness in that, but also what they're really referring to in terms of an iPaaS, a platform, if you will, is their hybridness in terms of how you deploy it, right? So big companies like IBM, and IBM aren't the only people, let's be very clear, right? They want a SaaS product, right? They want you to deploy your code and your APIs up in the cloud. But the reality is we don't do that, right? We deploy some of it to the cloud, we deploy some of it to my cloud, your cloud, his cloud, our data center, our local data center. We're all over the place. We're a mishmash of places where, because of legacy and because we do what IBM do and we acquisition. So my company that I bought 3 years ago might have a data center over rid of that data center by far. It's just too stupid. Wouldn't even consider it, right? To create that into my already large integration environment. So what do I do? That's another outpost I've got to have as part of my hybrid integration group. So I've got my cloud stuff, I've got my new data centers, I've got my current data centers, and that's what the hybridness is all about. So what they're doing, they call it a control plane. It's essentially a way of joining all these things in a more visual way. So it comes back to what I was talking about a while ago, is OPSIS, right? It's all about bringing things back up into a human way and making things look pretty and nice and easy to use for humans. So I've got all these bits of infrastructure, right? But nowadays we've got the capability to produce pictures over them. So I can produce essentially a map that says, I've got a data center over there and it contains this. It contains my API manager. It contains a
Yep.
security. And so I can actually get a visual representation of where all pieces of infrastructure are and manage them and deploy to them. So I can perhaps develop my stuff in the cloud. Great, that's nice. I didn't have to have all that development software on prem and manage it and host it and maintain it and all that horrible stuff we have to do. The SaaS bit does that. But then I can deploy the assets to one of my data centers, right? Depending on what sort of asset it is. But I've had one place where I've managed it and versioned it and all that good stuff that they have to do. Click of a button, deploy it off to the data center, because that's where the actual data is. And it's all about where the data is. So that's the hybrid element with a control plane that goes across it all to give you a nice view on it.
And obviously, you can see on the screen there the agentic AI aspect of what IBM are doing with webMethods hybrid integration. I think that's key. Do you want to just take 30 seconds on the agentic viewpoint?
Can you take 30
Oh.
seconds on it AI? That's the question. Agentic's very it's getting there. It's a very, very rapidly AI, and it's about that saying this is right. Where is the best place to get my data from? Where is that live data? So rather than saying something like, I'm going to code this in to, I'm going to connect to a database, you go off to some AI element, and an AI little agent basically sits in front of your data, says, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. I need some data from you. I'm going to use an API as we always do, but it's an API that's more formulated to an AI way that says, hey, I need some generic data. Can you go find that for me? And it brings it back to you in that AI element. So rather than a more hard coded way, you're able to be more flexible about the sort of questions you're asking these systems.
Yeah, and it will keep giving you the answers, in a I haven't asked for it, but you're providing me with the different routes and plans that I can provide on this integration path. So I
Yeah.
think it is, definitely an interesting aspect. And in terms of where clients fit in, obviously we can help. Yeah, we have the expertise to help you design and support and run these platforms. We can help you to review when's a good time to do it, how to look after the legacy, how to look after the new, how to bring in those acquisitions that you talked about. And that's where our capability spans both advisory, support, and services, and even to the managed service aspect. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll talk to that for a second, if I may. I think the key point is that as the lower level stuff is getting easier, I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but the connections are getting easier to do. And it's been happening for 10 years, let's be clear. You need more of those bigger picture skills, right? And you may not have them, right? Because they're very hard to find. So that's where clients' goodness knows how many years of experience comes in, right? We've got those high level architectures. We've done it 20 times over in different ways. We're now moving into the agentic AI world and the hybrid integration world, but it's fundamentally what we've been doing for 15, 20 odd years.
that's brilliant. Thank you, John. Really appreciate your time. If anyone has more information, please contact myself or John. Reach out to clients. Email us at sales@clients.co. Book a consultation, a demo, have a chat. Follow John's blog. Please do get in touch. Follow us on LinkedIn, and we'd be delighted to help. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Stuart.
Cheers.